Hello, my name is Ethan, and welcome back to another episode of Path of Exile Settlers League 3.25. In this episode, I wanted to go over my 4,271 delve. So I did this league, and then I wanted to mention we're actually using the normal zombie. So this is normal zombie, not the zombie is slamming. And then because you don't have the slam, you don't have the AoE, I actually was running Awaken Melee Splash because the normal zombie does a strike attack and then it makes it AoE. And then when basically in Delve, there's a lot of nodes that spawn a ton of monsters. And if our zombie, when it swings its arm, if it hits multiple targets, instead of just one, it'll do multiple splashes, and then it's actually a damage multiplier because instead of one slam that just hits everything in the circle, it's for every enemy the zombie punched, because it doesn't stop at the first enemy hit, so it swings and can hit multiple. If they're all stacked on top of each other, you could get multiple AoEs. And then so as soon as you have like two enemies hit or more, you're getting more damage because you get the initial hit plus the extra AoE overlap from the other enemy hit. So it's really sick. And then you're thinking, but what about when you don't have the enemies close? So this is a really good like AoE upgrade, but on the single target, this actually suffers because well, when there's just one target, you're just doing less damage because you don't have an extra link in your six link, and then you don't gain the benefit from the splash because there's nothing else to hit. So yeah, on a single target, I would actually swap this melee splash for the Awaken Melee Fizz. If there's like only one or two enemies and they wouldn't get close together. And then otherwise to combo, when there's a ton of enemies, I'm just playing normally. I actually started using Void Sphere. And so the when this actually got popular, it was like Ancestor League, but I didn't actually use it in Ancestor League because I wanted to play a minion build and I didn't want to just play a Void Sphere build. But it turns out I ended up using it for Delve now in the end, anyways. It's actually really insane because Void Sphere, you put it down and it's this big circle, and you can see the area that it affects because it kind of like radiates the air. You can see the pulses flying through the air, and it lasts so long, and so it's almost 100% uptime. And it actually every time it pulses, it pulls in the enemies. So it can help stack up the enemies for the melee splash so that you can get multiple enemies hit at the same time to get actually the damage multiplier. Because if everything's spread out, then yeah, your zombies don't stack up and they don't get to like burst down a single target. So then normally Void Sphere is doesn't last as long, but I added more duration. So I'll show you. Void Sphere was 5 seconds, and with the 50% more, it goes up to 7.5 second durations with an 8.3 cooldown. So it's almost 100% uptime, and then it also hinders the enemies. So not only is it pulling in the enemies, with like a reverse knockback, it has the hinder. And then on top of that, I figured out something even crazier. So the helmet, we went for the implicit. This is Eater of Worlds Perfect Implicit. For enemies you've hit recently have 82% reduced life regen rate. So recently is the last 4 seconds. And so as the Void Sphere hits the enemy, because it actually hits when it's doing the pulling, it does damage. Then it's actually getting this effect of reducing their life regen by 82%. And so when it lasts an extra 4 seconds after, when it was 7.5 second duration, this is like 11 seconds of reducing the life regen, right? And it has an 8-second cooldown, so it's pretty much 100% uptime if you keep using the Void Sphere. And then the main thing was 82% from this, and then you would actually wonder like, oh, why can't you just use Frostbomb? Well, I was. Frostbomb is 75% reduced life regen rate, but you can see that it says base duration is 2, and the cooldown is 2.5. When you increase the duration, it doesn't increase the duration of the life regen rate. ability thing, so you can't actually extend it, and so it's just not 100% uptime. It's like 80%, and so then it's 80% of the 75%, so it's not even close, and this is just 82% always. I did find that if you use this Helm mod with like the Perfect Dark Reaper that reduces nearby enemies by 50% life regenerate, it actually stacks. And same with this one, the Mastery and the Recovery Mastery, nearby enemies have 50% reduced life regenerate. It's the same as the Perfect Dark Reaper. This stacks with this Helm implicit or the Frostbomb, which is really crazy. It's really sick. So we're able to like fully delete the regen from enemies. But yeah, and then also pull them in, stack them up, hinder them. Void Sphere is absolutely insane. So this is a huge part of our build to make it work with the regular zombie and the melee splash to get that big more damage multiplier through more enemies. So then the main zombie link is level 40 regular raised zombie, and so I'll show you the life on this thing. It's at 204,000, and that's with minion damage, which is the 25% less max life. So they have a lot of life, because on the normal zombie you actually have a more max life mod that doesn't happen when you do the raise zombie as slamming. You basically have a trade-off of the more life for the slam cooldown and AoE. Yeah, so then in this, we're not using the slam at all, so technically you have to worry about accuracy, because with the slam, it couldn't be evaded, so you didn't have to worry about it as much. We always worry about accuracy because of the regular attack, all your other minions, etc., but I'm just pointing out that technically the slam couldn't be evaded, and these attacks from the normal zombies can. Oh yeah, so then the rest of the link, Awaken Melee Splash, Awaken Multi, Awaken Minion Damage, Awaken Empower, and Awaken Brutality. And then the Awaken Empower is cool because in this chest, it actually gets an extra +1. So you see this is a level 6, which gives +5 to the raised zombie. And it's because the chest plate has a +1 socketed gem. So it gives a level to the Empower and the zombie. And then the Empower being leveled up gives an extra level to the zombie. So it's kind of like a +2. So this chest has a +4. It's why I'll refer to this as a +4 later. And then, yeah, we're actually physical damage, as you can tell, because we're running Awaken Brutality, and we're doing Fizz stuff, because we're not using the Ascendancy, Unnatural Strength, for the minions have Unholy Might, converting all of the Fizz to Chaos and getting the extra Wither, not using Triad Grip. So we're doing Fizz, and this means I went for this new Minion Offense Mastery, and so minion hits have a 50% chance to ignore the enemy physical damage reduction. This is huge. This is amazing, because basically they made it so enemies could get a lot of physical damage reduction through the new Arch Nemesis, plus, you know, just mods in general. So being able to ignore it half the time is huge, because it makes tanky enemies not as tanky. You still have to do damage in general, but at least this helps with mitigation. It's new as well. This is a really huge benefit, and I feel like if there were things like this for the other ones, people would probably use it, which I'm talking about like Elemental or Chaos. They probably would use it. It's huge. So then, the Spectres I'm using right now, you can see them, 2 Carnage Chieftains and then 2 Demon Harpies. So the 2 Carnage Chieftains is for Frenzy charges, and you get them from Old Fields Act 2. Right here. You can get them from a few other places too, but... And then the Demon Harpy is from Beyond, and it's for 50% increased physical damage taken. It does a scream that stacks up these 20 stacks and can get up to 50% increased physical damage taken, which is massive, by the way, because Maim gives 10%. You get like a Helm implicit, a Helm mod that makes them take like 9 to 12% increased fizz damage on your AG and stuff, or like Malediction for the 10%. Malediction causes 10% reduced damage dealt and 10% increased damage taken on the enemy. Nearby enemies have Malediction. So 10%. We're talking the Demon Harpy can be 50. It's pretty big. But then it's hard to keep the Demon Harpy Scream uptime, because imagine it has a long cooldown and then the duration is only like 4 seconds. And they have to actually scream on the target, and the scream only stacks like 10 to 12 of the stacks, so you have to get it all the way to 20, and it isn't 100% uptime, so it's actually not consistent, but I did at least give it more duration. So this is the Spectre linked with more duration as part of the Void Sphere. The more duration making the Demon Harpy Scream debuff lasts longer, so the increased physical damage taken has higher uptime. It's not 100%, but it is pretty good. One of the problems is that if the Demon Harpy screams another target, well, obviously the one you want isn't screamed, and yeah, the scream isn't the full screen. It isn't multiple screens wide. Like, it can miss, as in it targets only one thing and maybe not the thing you wanted, and yeah. So then I also, so a lot of people will ask, why did you only use 2 Carnage Chieftains and 2 Demon Harpies? What happened to all the Corpse Spectres? And basically, I stopped using Corpse Spectres because they're dying. And it got, as the season went on, the, I would guess, or I'd say, like, the economy was, people were not playing as much, so then there's less people to trade, so then there's less corpses and longer wait times on it, and you have to message more people without them replying back, and just tons of stuff like that, where it basically just got annoying to keep buying the Corpse Spectres because they were dying. I wasn't able to keep them alive because the Perfect Dark Reaper is only a 188% life, and like there's a couple other ones that aren't that tanky, and then when they die, you just have to actually go buy a new one. It's crazy. Where here I could just literally just swap into Desecrate, which I would just keep on me, and then I could just drop my corpses like Demon Harpy and Carnage Chieftain easy. I don't have to buy them. And in Delve, I was doing dangerous nodes that I shouldn't have. But like, imagine a node having Pen, the Wither, the Crazy Physis Chaos, and then this is an Unspeakable Shrine, so if you know about this one, it's absolutely insane. And then after that, you would have still had to do a Crystal Spire with the Pen 2, or like there was... I have a few more that were absolutely insane. Time Lost Cavern with double proj, poison, extra minion damage, more life, frenzy charge on hit, impale, accuracy, can't be taunted, no action speed slows or anything. It's crazy, absolute. And this is a Time Lost Cavern, and Time Lost Cavern's the one that's essence. So imagine multi-essence monsters with Archnem mods plus these mods at 4,000 Delve. It's pretty crazy. And I was able to kill my Animate Guardian with 300,000 life. It's why he's missing right now, and I have his gear in my inventory, and I'll show you that after. But yeah, he had 300,000 HP. Where when I do a node with no mods, I can AFK. So the difference with the mods, you can basically have some randomness, even especially the randomness of the Archnem mods and stuff. There could be big spikes of damage that just kill your specters. It's the inconsistency. Anyways, so now I want to talk about the Stone Golem, because this is kind of new. Well, this is new, and I haven't really mentioned him. So Stone Golem of Safeguarding, basically, he gives you a buff that makes it so a portion of the melee damage you receive from enemy hits is instead taken from the life before yours, from his life. But this Stone Golem actually has half life, and then the buff was only 15% of melee damage is taken from your Stone Golem's life before you, where when after all the buff effect, because we have like the tree, Golem Commander, we have the Forbidden Jewels for Elimancer. It doesn't show you the actual node, but yeah, so we have a bunch of Golem buff effect. So instead of 15, it got all the way up to 48%. So it's almost like half of melee damage is taken from this dude's HP before me, which is actually insane. And then, yeah, I want to show his life, because he has the half-life, 105k, and he survives most of the time. This is one of the first things to die of my thing if stuff starts dying, because he has less life. He can get bursted easier. It's pretty annoying, but this is huge, because there's so much melee damage that can just one-shot me. Like, there was a Beast Burrow, and so it's just this big primordial beast, and he's the hardest hitting thing in Delve. Some people might think it's the Molten Cavity with that with that boss guy, but it's actually a beast burrow. His slash attack just does so much damage. It's just a melee hit. Just a single primordial beast. Not a big... Basically, melee damage doesn't kill me. No, it's huge. This is amazing. And you don't realize how many things are melee until you use this stone golem, and everything stops killing you. And you're like, yeah, this is awesome. And then with this, we still get the other stone golem and the chaos golem. So normal stone golem giving me the crazy life regen. So we're, for example, 1250. And this is without Bottled Faith or the chest plate where you get hit and regen 10% of your life over 1 second while sane, because we're sane and not insane. But regular Stone Golem is giving me Giga regen. And then I have the Chaos Golem, and this is linked with the Carrion Golem. I'll explain that in a sec. But basically, at level 30 on this Chaos Golem, instead of giving 5% physical damage reduction, it goes up to 6. So I got it to 31, but 30 is the important level to get the 6%, and then the 6% gets increased by all the buff effects, so you get a ton of physical damage reduction from the Chaos Golem. And then this is linked with Feeding Frenzy support and Maim, so that you get the Feeding Frenzy buff, which, to explain that, basically, my minions are already aggressive because of the wand mod. Minions are aggressive, but this is actually for the buff. So you have a 45% chance to grant Feeding Frenzy on hit, and then Feeding Frenzy is a buff that grants 10% more minion damage, 10% increased minion move speed, and 10% minion attack and cast speed for all the minions, not just linked. So that's why we have this. It's actually for the buff, not for the aggressive. And then Maim, same thing, buff on the enemy, maiming them, making them take 10% increased phys damage taken. Also, the slow is actually nice, and combine that with the hinder, and you could really slow enemies. And then to make this more consistent, because if it was just a Chaos Golem, it could be hard for him to hit enough, especially how I believe the Maim has to be attacks. And so some of the Chaos Golem does like the Cascade and stuff, it won't work, and like the Chaos Storm won't work, but I think for the Feeding Frenzy, it'll work. So then Carrion Golem of Hordes attacks really fast, and you think, how could you run 3 Golems, because I have the one base, the one from the tree, and the one from the Forbidden Jewels, Forbidden Flame and Flesh of the Animate. How can you have 5 if you only have 3? So basically, Carrion Golem of Hordes, there was a patch before where they nerfed the Anima Stone. It used to give 2. There was 1 Golem, and then an extra 1 if you use 3 Primordial Jewels. But they changed it where it doesn't give the 1 anymore, and it only gives the 1 if you use 3 Primordial Jewels, so it doesn't give 2 anymore. After nerfing that, on the same patch, they added Carrion, of Hordes on all the golems, and so if you use this gem, just this gem gets a +2 to the max. You can see how it says max 3 summon golems, where if you look at the Chaos Golem, it only says 1. If you used a Chaos Golem of Hordes, it would say 3, and then it allows you 2 extra, but only 2 extra of the gem. So there's like a global max for all the gems, and then there's a gem max that allowed you to have more. So that's where we get 2 extra Carrion Golem of Hordes through this gem, and then the buff is gone, so it doesn't buff up your minions. It doesn't have the 50% more damage. It actually has a CDR as the effect of the quality instead of buff effect. And this is actually like big point, because this isn't really for damage. It's mostly for the fast attack speed, the fast attack speed of the Carrion Golem to trigger Maim and Feeding Frenzy support, and technically have some extra minions. It was also good in our Chaos version for the Wither stacking with the Unnatural Strength and like Withering Touch. To stack Wither, because you have to get it to 15 with only a 2-second duration on the Wither, and then sometimes they can get reduced Wither duration as well, so it's like really hard to stack up 15 of them with such a short duration. So then I also wanted, so I mentioned the Feeding Frenzy support is just for the buff, and then we get the aggressive through the wand, and you get that from Delve in a minion node, and you have to fracture it and then craft it. So then I wanted to go over the aura setup, which combines with the golems, but basically have Purity of Elements, and you get it for free in the build. So Purity of Elements has no cost, no reservation, because we linked it to Guardian's Blessing, So Guardian's Blessing is a thing that makes the aura free, but then it starts to kill your minion. It makes the minion take 8% of their total max life and energy shield as physical damage per second while you have an aura from a supported skill on you. So, I kept this at level 1 to keep the percent as low as possible so that he would take as little damage as possible so that my Stone Golem can survive and not have to worry about this degen on him. And I can keep the Purity of Elements up, and then the reduced aura effect only reduces the elemental res from the Purity of Elements, not the immune to elemental ailments. But yeah, this is how we get immune to elemental ailments. And then technically if our minions are in range of the Purity of Elements, then they also get the immune to elemental ailments. And then, yeah, like I say, you just don't level up the Guardian's Blessing. You can get some 5% extra aura effect if you do the quality, and you could go with a 123 with a like corrupted one, and it won't, I don't think it'll actually give you any extra, but you could try. But then the 8%, yeah, I've had it at like level 10 and done more, but then it does die. So yeah. So free Purity of Elements. And the reason I do the Stone Golem over the other golems is the Stone Golem actually has inherent life regen, an extra like 1 or 2% implicit base regen over the other golems, and it has more life. So if I show you, it has 211,000 and the Chaos is 201, and the Carrion's 169. So yeah, the Stone Golem has the most life, also the most regen. Some extra regen built in, yeah. And then explain another free aura. So I did, well, it's not free, but it's kind of free. Mana reservation free. Okay, Vitality, I put it with Arrogance, and so it reserves 588 life, and it gives me like 500 regen, like 1250. So it gives like 500 regen for the cost of 588 life and 2 gems, which is pretty crazy. There were a couple times when I would show you I was trying to do some really hard node, and one of the first things I would try if I was getting one-shotted is disable the Vitality, so I gained back the 588 life. So technically I could not be one-shotted as much, but then my recovery is worse. The trick there was you could then take out the Arrogance and the Vitality, saving a 2-link, and you could put caster damage taken level 1 with an Immortal Call level 3, because it needs to trigger level 38 or lower, so you keep the Immortal Call 38 or lower. And why do I do 1? So that it has a low damage requirement to trigger the Immortal Call so that it actually works before you die, because if you had it at such a high damage requirement, then maybe you just die before the Immortal Call even triggers. And then when it would trigger, you'd get the less LE and less Fizz damage taken. Don't even worry about the endurance charges, because these are minimum endurance charges from the amulet, so they don't get consumed by the Immortal Call and don't give you the extra buff. It's only temporary ones. So then yeah, that I didn't do that very often, but like I say, if I was getting one-shotted, well, having the extra life would help, and the extra guard skill automated would help a little bit. It wasn't the greatest, like it didn't fix everything, obviously, but it could make the diff on some hard nodes. Yep. And then my 4-link Enlighten setup. So I only have an Enlighten 4. I never got the Awaken Enlighten. I think it was like multiple mirrors, and I just kept dumping mirrors into trying to make my ring. But anyways, Enlightened on Pride, Purity of Fire, and Determination. So we're not running Grace. So my auras are this. We actually started to run Pride because it needed the extra damage to, because the stuff in Delve is just so tanky. It's absolutely insane. It was part of why I needed to pull out the Awaken Melee Splash and the Raise Zombie to get the more damage multiplier, because there's just so many mobs, so many monsters. I needed the more damage. Yeah. So anyways, like I said, peaked at 4273, or 42, yeah, 4271, and then I actually one-shotted my AG with 326,000 HP. And then the Hungry loop is Mim, Awaken Brutality, Awakened AoE, and then Minion Life. So yeah, this is with Minion Life. The only thing I'm missing on that is, I guess, I don't know, Awakened Empower in my ring for some extra levels to keep him alive. But like, Jesus, I already, like, to show you, I put the Minion Life at 423. My my Elegant Hubris is Minion Life, Minion Life, Minion Life. It doesn't even give minion damage. So yeah, this is the most life he'd ever have. and like you'd have to actually give up something, and yeah. And then the specters and stuff were still dying too, like the zombies, and it's crazy. So then I showed the AG ring links and the HP, his gear. So it's kind of funny. I can hardly show you the gear because it's like so late into the season and the trade is so inactive. But basically, to buy a Gravebind with the corruption was 30D. So all I did was buy a Gravebind regular, and I got a vulnerability corrupted glove to show you. So you want this on this, but it would have been 30D to buy it right now, and I'm not doing that. Sorry. But yeah, I did have a Gravebind with vulnerability before he died, and it wasn't 30D when I bought it, but the league's so dead now. So then I had a Garb of the Ephemeral, and this is absolutely huge. So enemies like to reduce your minions' action speed, especially like the big bosses. Almost all have action speed slows of up to like 50%. And so Garb of the Ephemeral, making it so your minions can't have the action speed slow below base value, is massive. There's even some Arch Nem mods that reduce action speed. And so this has been really sick. And then it's like Temporal Bubble or whatever. And then technically it also makes the enemies not deal crit strikes, but yeah, I don't worry about that because it's not a big the nearby allies action speed cannot be modified. It's a bigger radius than the nearby enemies cannot deal crit strikes, and yeah, it's mostly for my minions to be able to basically deal more damage. And this is instead of like an explode chest or nearby enemies are blinded or an extra curse. I prefer the nearby allies cannot be action speed modified below base value. And then I got the extra implicits of res. You can also get, there was a mod of reduced damage taken if corrupted, and I had that, and it was pretty good. It was 5% reduced damage taken if corrupted, but yeah. No, I did res, because I'm telling you, the market, there's nothing. Same thing with the boot. I tried to get a boot with move speed as the implicit. There was also suppress, but they weren't responding, and so I just corrupted my own and got max life and said, all right, sure, I guess some max life on the boot. But this was mostly for the phasing when he gets kills, so that your AG can actually get to the enemy to be able to do the vulnerability and whatnot. And so he could actually position for the explode, because the weapon was a two-handed implicit synthesis weapon. Enemies you kill have a 25% chance to explode, dealing a tenth of their max life as physical damage. So you have explode with the sharing the kills from the Gravebind with the vulnerability, and then the getting the phasing because you killed recently. So then on this, went with the Essence of Horror for that Power Frenzy or Endurance Charge on kill, so you can get charges. And then res, lightning, which the chest had fire and cold, and the helmet in my other case. So the weapon before was like fire or cold, and then the helmet was lightning, but either way I have a different one because, you know, I had to actually buy it. So then yeah, lightning res, and then open mod, I crafted the June mod of double damage. You could technically do a Veiled Chaos Orb for a higher percent, but yeah, or sorry, it's a veiled. Is it even a veiled Chaos Orb, or is it just a veiled orb now? Either way, it's too expensive to use for crafting like that. Where yeah, I just crafted the 10% double damage, and then the helmet was malediction implicit. So nearby enemies have malediction. It's corruption through another helmet that turns into other unique helmets and stuff. But anyways, this one had LE res, and that's why I wanted it. And this cost 10D, dude. It was crazy. But yeah, you want the extra LE res so that your stuff doesn't die to like curses or like that lower elemental resistance, or there's Scorch that removes like up to 30, stuff like that. So technically, if it was elemental ailment immune from the purity of elements, then he couldn't get the Scourge, but you could still get the curses, and like we don't have reduced curse effect on the AG to be immune, or like just immune to curses in general, or like hexproof. We don't have that, so yeah. All right. So then to mention the rest of my swaps on the main link. So I told you how I would swap Awaken Melee Fizz for the Awaken Melee Splash when I was doing single target, because you can't splash when there's like 1 or 2 enemies. So then I would also, another thing I would do is Behead Support. You can actually run this in regular zombie because basically this supports strike skills, but the slam is not a strike. Carrion Golem uses slashes. It's also not a strike. So pretty much the main use case scenario for this is zombies and like potentially maybe the AG and Skellies, but yeah, I did it for zombies. And so you could swap out Awakened Empower, because Awakened Empower, imagine it being 5 levels. So it's like, let's say 25% extra damage and 25% extra life. If you didn't need the extra survivability, the extra life, then you could, well, it's also some other stats, obviously, from the levels, the armor, evasion, and like accuracy, and a bunch of other stats. But the main ones you would think of is, like I'm saying, the life and the damage. And so technically, if the enemy was at half life, so low life, and you didn't need the survivability from the Empower, then swapping into Behead Support was actually a damage buff, because you could get it to do 50% more damage with hits and ailments against enemies on low life. Then you also had the stealing the rare mods. You also had the extra strike range, 0.4 meters to the strike range, where I think they have 1.3, so it'd go up to 1.7. It's pretty cool. But yeah, this is technically more damage and felt really nice, because it also helped, like, you know how your zombies have to go up to the enemy and surround them and punch them? They could surround and punch from farther away. And also, they have a bigger strike range, so that they could actually hit more enemies in one strike. So technically, this comboed with melee splash could actually get you more multipliers, but there's a problem with the behead, where then they punch from farther away, and potentially the strike takes longer. Like, the actual punch could take longer because it has a bigger strike rate. It's interesting. It may not be as clear-cut as you would think. So yeah. Now I'll go over some base stats. Defense tab. So I got 22,000 armor, 5k evasion. This is with no grace. 5k. Kind of crazy. The 1250 regen, 100% spell suppression. So 100% spell suppression from, well, actually I should go over a few of those. So the armor is my armor gear. I don't have any. What the fuck am I talking about? Sorry. Determination and the flask. I have granite and the increased armor and the determination. The evasion is the gear, so I have all this evasion gear. And the regen is not counting the bottled faith or the body armor. So the bottled faith can take this up to 1587 and then 10% of my life. But then it's not just 10% because I have the extra. I don't have any. I thought I had extra life regen, right? Okay. And then the 100% spell suppress is from the helm. We have 14%. The glove, 14 plus the 10 implicit. That's the Eater of Worlds perfect implicit, 10% suppress. And then we also have the boot, 13. Could be 14. Didn't matter. I have the instinct cluster. And so that's this. And I have the mastery for spell suppress if you're phasing, 8%. And then I also have the quartz flask. Spell suppress and phasing. And then this is the phasing that makes this give us the spell suppress. Yeah. Then I also have 90 max alira. So that's Purity of Fire. And then melding, so that we delete our max but make the one equal all. So we make the fire all of them. And then to get the rest of the fire, I'll have my boot implicit, 2% max fire res. And there's some of the life regen rate was this implicit, Eater of Worlds. But on top of that, I have a jewel, 2% max fire res. So on kobolds, you could roll a suffix for 1 to 2 max of fire, lightning, and cold, and then you could swap them to the different elemental res as well. It's super insane. And then for the curse, wait, where the hell is this on this page? Either way, I have curse immune, reduced effective curses on you, 64%. It gets scaled up by the 95%, so it's over 100% reduced effective curse. So they'd have to have increased effective curse on me to make it even affect me, which that's a possibility. But for most cases, yeah, you're immune to curses. And then I have the extra Ellie res flask. Oh, sorry. The extra Ellie res for not for the curses, but for like technically, yeah, the scorch shouldn't affect me in the curses, but if it could, then I have the extra, and it's also for the altars if you run altar mods to delete the reses. And then my chaos res 75%. And I get this the 40% less chaos damage taken with the chestplate. So we're always sane with the chestplate. You get this skill that you just don't use, and then you're sane, and you get 40% less physical and chaos damage taken while sane. So we're good to the chaos. I have 20 block. You get, I think, 15 from the weapons from having two like dual wielding one-handeds. You get 15% or something. And then I get stun immune from the flask, so 100% avoid stun, 54 turns into 105. And then we have the 90% reduced extra damage from crits. So, explain this. I have all these tattoos of the Rongo Kurai turtle. So they're the blue one that replaces intelligence. And so 5% per. There's a ton of them all across. And then how am I able to have no int, strength, or dex? I run Supreme Ostentation, the Keystone from the Timeless Jewel Elegant Hubris with the commemorating Caspiro, and then yeah, you get Supreme Ostentation, so you get to ignore attribute requirements and gain no inherent bonuses from them, so you just don't build attributes, and instead you get to replace your tree with whatever you want. So like I was able to replace the strength with increased armor and some regen. You could have an extra increased armor there if you wanted. Did the extra regen. And then yeah, so the tattoos are huge with this Timeless Jewel. And then yeah, we get the element immune from Purity of Elements. The move speed says 110, but this is actually higher because in my hideout, I don't get the buff. Okay, so on my wands, it's Haunted by Tormented Spirits. It's a new enchant from Kingsmarch that was really expensive. And basically, you get 2 Tormented Spirits. The Tormented Spirits give you 35 move speed per, so 70% move speed, and it's after a little, like, a few seconds in your map that you enter an area, so I'd go up to 180. And then they also do extra stuff on top of that, but so I have a lot more move speed than it looks like. And then I also wanted to mention, so I mentioned before how I could take out the vitality for the extra max life, and some may think, well, how would you survive if you only had so little regen after? You'd have no recovery. So in our build, they actually made a new Ascendancy Bone Barrier. They changed it, and so it used to be something else, but now it's physical damage reduction per minion up to 10. The 1% of damage dealt by your minions is leeched to you as life. Okay, so we have all of our minions can leech for us, not just the zombies with a Baron. You don't need the Baron anymore to get leech from minions. You can get it through the Ascendancy. Super insane, because then it also works on more things than just zombies. It like works on the AG, Explode, and everything. It's insane. So then on top of that, regular leech is fine. Like we would get up to 20% of our life, so 1,000 recovery from the leech. But instead, we took this Light Eater and the Mastery. So all of this was useless, but the Mastery is what we wanted. 10% of leech is instant. So yeah, as you just start healing an insane amount because it's no longer recovery per second, and you just start gaining chunks of HP. So that's how we would survive. As long as there's enemies to hit, you heal a lot when you deal a lot of damage and you're leeching a lot. And then you recover so much, and it would really make up for the missing recovery, as long as there were enemies. If it was like you die to an on death effect and then there's no enemies, well, you're not going to be instant leeching. So it is just your recovery then. But yeah, my minion damage was 614 and the minion life was 423. And then I had the 204k on the zombie, and if you take off the minion damage, it goes up to 258,000. What the hell? Okay. Yeah, this Ascendancy Leech thing was really strong. Then my other Ascendancies, yeah, we had Commander of Darkness, we had Mindless Aggression, and then Plaguebringer. And Plaguebringer, you would just need to basically put down a corpse. In Delve, there's pretty much always a corpse, because there's so many enemies spawn, and it was really no issue. Especially even on some boss nodes, enemies would come out from the sides and come attack me and then provide me a corpse for the boss encounter. It's pretty funny. So I could, though, just put down a corpse, but then you have to keep the actual gem in. If you put Desecrate in the build and you make a corpse to get the Plaguebringer, if you swap back to Void Sphere, it takes away the corpse. So that's where it would actually be useful to have enemies to have the corpses for Plaguebringer, because it's not just the more damage, the enemies deal reduced damage. It's kind of like you have the reduced damage from this, the reduced damage from the Malediction. Things like that start to really stack up, make a huge difference. Now I'll talk about my gear. So the first gear piece I thought that was the most insane to start this off with was the Amulet. So the Amulet is insane. It's just insane. Endurance charges were changed. They're now insane as well. They were already good, but like, holy shit. So players gain physical and elemental damage reduction for each endurance charge. They have charges, endurance, 4% per endurance and 4% per endurance of Ellie and Fizz. So when you have 4 from an amulet as just a single mod, the craft turned into a 4 from, this is Hinakora's Lock. We got a big multiplier on it, and then it got multiplied by the base as well, so it got up to 4. So that's 16% physical damage reduction and 16% LE damage reduction. It's huge! Huge! And then, yeah, the +4, the +4 is crazy because it's +4 to all. Like we were just talking about how the chest plate's a +4 to the link. This is +4 to all, which really helped for the AG and the Chaos Golem Thresh-Mark to get the extra 6% without needing an Empower. The Spectre, getting the like extra res and stuff, and then their survivability, it's huge. And it just works on all your auras too. This Ami was so fun. And then, yeah, the Gigantic Life goes without saying. That is a lot of life. That's like more than a Comb's Heart. Well, the old one. Now the new one has 1,000, but yeah, this is more than the old Comb's Heart, and it's just one of the mods. So then the chest plate, I talked about it already more than I thought I would by this point, but basically, yeah, the stay sane, and then you get the big less physical and chaos damage taken, and it's not just from hits, it's all damage, so it's huge. And then the regen, and then the +4 for the socketed, so it's, yeah, the +1 here, which gives it an extra +1, so it's a +4 for the zombies. Absolutely insane. Yeah, showed the Empower. And then the Gloam Ring, I'll say, is my next most important thing. And so the Gloam Ring, the main thing I wanted, the number one thing I wanted was 69 plus, 69 or higher of minion elemental resistance from the ring and jewels, not including the tree or ascendancy. So to explain that one more time, this has 72, so that's already good. But let's say this didn't have enough. Let's say it had 54, then I could get 15 from a jewel. So like a cobalt jewel could have 15 minion elemental res. Obviously, I'm not using any for any elemental res because I already have it through the ring. But you could have used forbidden jewels, regular cobalt jewels for that. Minion elemental res 15%. Yeah. And then if you didn't have the ring at all, then you could run multiple of these jewels. And if you had an unmirrored one, so like not the double, because it takes the 30 and increases it. So let's say you only had 30 and maybe you increased it with Catalyst, so it's 36. You would still need like 2 of these jewels, for example. And that's not like, this is not counting the Indom, this is counting like extra on top of the tree. Not including this, not including this. Yeah, you still have to take this. And technically, if you had like only 8% off, you could use this point to get the extra 8%. But yeah, I wasn't counting this. I was mostly accounting on you getting it through a ring or the jewels. And then yeah, the ring is mostly through the it's the, what are they called? Did I call it Hinokor's Lock before? No. Reflecting Mist. Yeah. So that's huge. Then the extra stuff for the ring is attack speed. I have attack speed here. You can also get minion move speed or minion life as a suffix, the extra one. On this, I had reduced light radius. Yeah, that doesn't matter other than technically light radius. Imagine you're like a beacon, and so the enemies see your light. And so if you have less light radius, you're not as bright, and so the enemy doesn't see you as much. So it's technically a thing. If you had no light radius, then like you don't really attract the enemies. But at the same time, I think then my minions would still have light radius, so my minions are still attracting them, but I'm not attracting them. Yeah. Anyways, because of this, I wanted to show the ring I was working on. So imagine I had this ring the whole time. I've been trying 20 plus locks. 20 plus Hinokor's locks. The Hinokor's locks are up to 200D, so we're talking 4000D in Hinokor's locks, and I haven't succeeded. This was another failure right here. I can actually show you what happens. You missed it, and then you can see reduced, positive, 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 reduced, reduced. And so like you could take this, but then it's shit. And so you're not going to do that, and that was the result of that one. But I have like 20 of those failures where they just keep going 3 positive, 3 negative, and I need like 5 positive, 1 negative at worst. But what I have has been, I used this the whole time, so it's just the life, minion res, attack speed. Then I had reduced mana, reduced light radius, and I took extra lightning damage from attacks. Kind of annoying. But the point of showing this was I had the one with the extra move speed suffix, so it was perfect T1 Elirez attack speed, which would have been higher than this, because this was only 8 to 10. But something cool about this ring is it actually had a higher multiplier than is possible with one of these Reflecting Mists. The highest you can do with a Reflecting Mist is only 2.1, and this was gotten from the actual Reflecting Mist mechanic in maps. This is something somebody picked, and it was random. It wasn't, they didn't craft this. So this is a pretty crazy result for random, where like this is what I was trying to create, but I wasn't successful. Yeah. But just to show you what suffixes I would have went for, and like how you could get life, minion damage, like it could be an absolute insane ring. So I didn't even have the best ring possible, but it's just so hard. It's so unrealistic. Yeah, life prefix is nice as well as the minion damage. And yeah, failed 20 locks on this, man. And the main priority is the minion res though, because if your minions are dying, that shit's hella annoying. And when you're getting the minion res through the ring, then if you're not getting it through the ring, you gotta get it through the jewels, or otherwise they'll die. So then explain my wands. I explained the enchants a little bit already, but basically, yeah, you get the two ghosts to infect you when you actually go in a map, and then you get the 70% move speed. So then I'll show you Torment. There's 13 power runes, so this shit ain't cheap. But then you get the 70% move speed, and the alternative was you could get wands with minion damage, basically. And so instead of 35 minion damage, I got 35 move speed. And when I have 600 minion damage, but only 100 move speed, the move speed is of more value at the same rate, so why would I not get the move speed? So I got the move speed, and then you also get extra random ghost effects, like they'll make random shocky stuff, or like they'll summon monsters. You can summon specters, it can summon like random ghosts, it can do a lot. The random ghost effects are crazy, they do a lot of stuff. Oh, and then the wand. So I mentioned, so I have some upgrades that I never did. Basically, I show how I only have 600 minion damage. This wand I made when I had like 800 or 900, and it's because when you're comparing double damage versus just the regular one, so I'll show you. So you have 109, and then you have 66, so the diff of 43. And so then I took, well, how would you get 43 minion damage of value out of the double damage? And I basically pointed out that you would have to be at 860 minion damage, so that the 5% double damage is like 43 minion damage. When you think about it, 5% of the 860 would be 43, except the one part to think about is that actually the supports on your zombies actually come with extra increased damage. So 10, 10, 11, and 11. So this is impactful because it's not just this number, it's the extra increased damage as well from the supports. So you have to include that. But anyway, when it's not that high, then the double damage isn't worth as much, and so technically the flat minion damage, and this is all because I took the Timeless Jewel and made it all life, so I didn't have as much minion damage. So after that, technically the 109 is better in my current build than the double damage. It's just I didn't want to recraft it because you get the +2, and then you still have to do the suffixes. I was just tired of crafting. I was honestly, I had to recraft a helm. I had to recraft because I was gonna make a life regenerate helm instead of some of the res, but then like I kind of need the res because I'm not that overcapped anyways. And like you could swap the wand for a little bit of damage, but you have to recraft a whole wand, and I already had the crit. Like the suffixes were really good on this. I don't want to do it, but just to honorable mention, gotta tell people that technically this wand I was going to craft and it was technically better, but like I say, the deterrent, the main deterrent was when my Animate Guardian with 326,000 HP gets one-shotted. When I'm just trying to, it's like, holy shit, man. And when I'm able to AFK normal nodes, but then the difference between the mods and how there could just be bricked areas that are like unbeatable. It's just a brick wall, and I would have to go around, and it would be so much time to go around. And then just to end up finding another thing that I couldn't do that I'd have to skip and go around. Yeah. So then, yeah, I went over the helmet. Then I'll go over my actual helm. So I had a +2 fracture because it's the rarest mod, and then the suffixes crafted with an Essence of Envy for the Chaos res. You hit suppress, and I just hit an extra res, and I accepted anything clearly T3 or better, and then I did the implicits and got the life, and crafted prefix and got life, and then added the extra zombie. And I did the implicit as the extra move speed. You could also do the minion life, but like I say, it's another case of where I had a lot of minion life already, but not a lot of minion move speed, because we only have 4 of these dread marches for the 10% move speed per, and like we're not running haste and whatnot, so I wanted the extra minion move speed so they could actually move to position themselves to attack the enemy, especially when the enemy is running away. They have to keep up with the enemy and then like hit and surround the enemy so they can't run away, like all this shit. It was really important. So then the glove is same thing. Chaos res, Essence of Envy, and then I hit suppress and a res. And this was a fractured life though, because you don't have the +2 that you have to have fractured, so you can get the fractured life, and then you could redo the implicit for like increased evasion rating, so you could take this up to like 800 evasion rating, but I didn't. I got the extra flat life, which has less value because we have the extra life from the ring and the extra life from the Ami, and then we get all this flat life from the large clusters as well as our just base levels giving us flat life. But it's still good. I kept this. I kept that implicit. I mean that prefix, and then I crafted minion damage, and then yeah, just have the minion damage Searing Exarch implicit to go with the suppress. So this gives 42 minion damage on a glove. It's sick. And the boot fractured the move speed because you don't have to fracture the +2. There's no +2 on the boot. Also, move speed is your biggest priority on the boot over life in the like that's just how it is. You usually think of move speed on your boot. You don't get move speed from like your glove, so that's why I prioritized it over the life. I still got the life after, obviously I still have it, and I got the increased evasion rating, which is the bot I wanted on the glove to be extra, so you can see that the boot went up to 824. It's huge. But yeah, the boot was the same thing. Essence of Envy for the Chaos Res guaranteed. Hit Suppress and hit an extra res. It's the same thing. It's hilarious. Actually hilarious. But then my belt, this is just a Mage Blood. And I bought it double corrupted with Determination, Aura Effect, and Ellie Res. This is sick. Really good double corruption. But I didn't do it myself. I just bought it. And it was just worth it. Because the odds on it was pretty bad. And then the Flask, you kind of already seen them. You could already tell what these are just from looking at them, but I'll go over them in the vid. So yeah, move speed, Quicksilver, and then increased armor. We have flat armor and increased evasion rating. We have max fire res, and reduced effective curses on you. So curse immune, and then this was the spell suppress, the phasing, and the stun immune, avoid stun, and then bottled faith. So bottled faith, you may wonder why a bottled faith over progenesis. So progenesis being this thing. So basically when I swapped around the build, I wasn't dying to one hits. I was actually AFK tanking, surviving, and then I thought, well, I could get the extra damage from Bottled Faith, because the Bottled Faith making it so enemies take 10% increased damage when they're on the Consecrated Ground, and the Consecrated Ground is such a big AoE. I have a skin on it. This is a cosmetic. It's an Apostate's Bottled Faith, so it's like blood, Heretic's influence, right? And then yeah, it makes them take the increased damage. Then your minions get the extra regen being on the Consecrated Ground, and then they get what, 5%, and then the reduced effective curse on them. So technically, I had extra reduced effective curse on me with the Bottled Faith, and then I also had this life node devotion, which they changed it. It used to have something else. It was like 6% aura effect or something. Now it's 25% increased effect of the Consecrated Ground you create. So when you're using Bottled Faith, using this node is actually beneficial. And then, yeah, like I say, the extra regen, the extra survivability, the extra reduced curse, the extra damage, the extra crit, like all of this was really nice. And then, yeah, you don't have to worry about it being up or not for the like you not getting one shot. I'm not relying on a temporary thing, and it's mostly just for a damage buff, which is fine to be inconsistent. And then my Watchers. The Watchers, I got physical damage reduction with Determination, and then the Purity of Elements, I got Chaos Res. And so technically, this is another thing where I could have min-maxed. If I divine this, so I spend more, I could get better Chaos Res, which would make it so I don't need the Chaos Res from the helmet. That's what I was going to swap. I was going to take off the Chaos Res from the helmet, so it would be Suppress, Life Regen Rate, and 1 Res. And then we get extra Life Regen. But, like, it wasn't going to make the diff of me being able to progress through those insane nodes that were killing my 300,000 HP AG. So it didn't matter. Ghastly... Oh, yeah, so now I show this jewel. Now I'm going through jewels now. I ran a Ghastly with Taunt and Blind, and then it had the extra Minion Fizz damage. This isn't a huge deal, because, like, even if you had a Carrion Golem with the extra buff effect, it isn't that much extra physical damage, and because they're such high levels, level 40 zombies, they already have so much physical damage that this small flat amount isn't that significant. And so technically getting like life or mana or minion fizz damage or any of these was fine. It was good and it was affordable, so I bought it. Why not? It does do extra damage. But yeah, the main priorities was Taunt and Blind, because the Taunt can make it so enemies you taunt can only target you and deal 10% less damage to anyone else. So the minion taunts, and now we all take less damage. And then the blind reducing the enemy's evasion and their accuracy, making your evasion better. Absolutely huge. And then potentially also blinding them so that they can't see. Like, actually, what if the enemy just can't see you? So Cobalt, minion accuracy rating is important. Even with level 40 zombies, you need a source of minion accuracy rating to get them. You want them up like above 3k, almost 4k, especially where we don't have the zombie slam, so the enemy can actually evade the attacks. It makes the accuracy more important. So you can get 26% through a jewel suffix. And then instead of this mana reservation that was on this, you could have had minion damage. And then the large clusters, 35% increase effect, the 3% minion attack and cast speed. These are 84 so that they can roll the 35% increase effect to the 12 passive minion damage. I have 2 of them. This is the exact same. And then we also had the LE res and then the life. 4% max LE res, 4% LE res and the 10 max life. Then the mediums, 4 mediums of this. So it's just Dreadmarch Renewal 4 times. And then the Dreadmarch Renewal, so Renewal giving the regen and the double damage if they're on full life. So potentially some extra damage. And the life, move speed, physical damage reduction, and the chaos res. So this is where you get the physical damage reduction and the chaos res priority. The other physical damage reduction comes from this, 23%. So we have 63%, and then that helps for the chaos, the stone golem to survive the guardian's blessing, because the guardian's blessing is actually physical damage per second. So it'll go against the physical damage reduction that you get from the Dread Marches and the Endom army to help the stone golem stay alive. And then this is where we're getting the regen to counteract the degen from that and on the stone golem. And then you get some extra stuff out of the clusters as well. So Chaos Res, LE Res, we got Chaos Res, Lightning Res, Chaos Res, Cold Res, and Chaos Res, Lightning Res. Then I want to go over the masteries. So I already showed you the Leech one. I showed you the Suppress one. I showed you the ignoring the enemy physical damage reduction for the minion hits. But there's a few more. We had minions have 30% increased AoE. That's pretty nice. And we also had the 8% to all max elemental resistances for the minions. And so where we overcap their resistances, then they get to go up to 83% max LE res instead of just 75. And then we actually build over that. We're getting them to like 113 or more. So they're 30 over the 83 or something, usually, at least. So that it can handle some reduction of the elemental resistances through like curses or scorch, like I said. And then we also had the minion leech, 1% of damage as life. So we used this mastery, and we don't use like feasting fiends. You would need 2.5 feasting fiends to equal this one mastery just for the leech. And then obviously the feasting fiends has the extra minion damage, minion life, and whatnot. But just for leech, this is a really nice mastery. And those are all the masteries I was using. Then I used Eldritch Battery, and you may wonder, why would you use this? So Eldritch Battery is like, we actually have this instinct, which makes it so you recover 50 ES when you suppress spell damage. So having your Eldritch Battery make your ES not protect your life, so then you don't get this extra recovery protecting you from damage, for like when you actually suppress spell damage, is actually a downside. But then the Eldritch Battery upside is that Mana Siphoner comes in and just starts, like, you stand in the circle and all your mana's gone and then you can't activate any abilities. There's also the case of with my build, even with the free Purity of Elements and the Vitality being against life, I still didn't have enough. Okay, so the mana's 22 and Void Sphere costs 78. What? Why is it so much? Well, it is really powerful. Holy shit, dude. That shit's crazy. Yeah, so 78. And then this isn't counting like if you had something else like Flame Dash or a cast some damage taken setup or whatnot. So the Eldritch Battery just makes it so I actually have the mana. And then it also helps for when there's no mana regen. Yeah. So that's I went over pretty much everything. Like, actually, unironically, there's just so much stuff. Technically, I had this honorable mention of a block chance reduction support, which people don't even know how to get. But if you get this, then, and if an enemy has block and is surviving, technically you can remove the block from the enemy by making it so that one of your minions uses this. Let's say you put it on the Spectre. And then the Spectre, when it gets blocked, so when the enemy has block and is blocking the Spectre from hitting it, it's going to be stacking this overpowered buff that removes block per stack. So overpowered can be applied many times, 4 seconds, and it's 5% reduction of the block per stack. Yeah, so you just want the enemy to block your Spectre and your, yeah, it's pretty weird. But I don't have that problem that much, so I wasn't really using it. I took it out. It used to be bigger where you had Sentinel, Arch Nemesis mod on like everything, and it was like 65 block attack and block spell, so you really needed to remove it. You couldn't hit him. You just couldn't hit him, dude. It was crazy. But yeah, that's the build. Absolutely insane. And like 4,000 delve, and like for me to do it all in one vid, one take, pretty fun. I hope you guys did enjoy this. I hope you guys like this kind of style and want more stuff like this. Let me know if this appealed to you, if this is if this is something you liked, if you like it all in one, where it was all one take, you don't like heavily edited stuff. Hey, let me know. Leave a comment. And if you have any questions, definitely ask any questions in the comment section below, and I'll answer as many as I can. And thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you guys enjoy this. Yo, are you looking forward to the new reveal live stream on like the 21st for the new season? Holy shit. PoE 2, boys. I just had to definitely show you the delve though. We'll end it with, I was going to put this somewhere near the beginning of me doing a delve node, but I think I'll just put it now. So I don't have the AG, and that would make a big deal. For some reason, there's no sound. I can fix this. But while I fix this... Wow, is there really no sound the whole time from the game? Wait, no, I don't hear it. But you do. Wait, how's that possible? It's correct. Wait a minute. Is my headphones plugged out? Oh. Yeah. Yeah, it was working the whole time. Okay, good. Yeah, even better. But yeah, I get to show you this where I'm just sitting at a node AFK. So this is like the reality of the build. It was quite tanky. And so now I'll just do some of the normal stuff. So you could Void Sphere on top of this dude and pull the enemies in. And then we could throw an attack down here. So our minions target like more in this area. And you can actually see them getting attacked. And then they're getting splashed. You can see the splash is starting to stack up. He wasn't taking any damage. Now we're getting the enemies to stack up down here. You could see how getting the enemies stacked up could really get a big damage increase. We'll do the Void Sphere, do a flare. So I could, because if you stand in this corner by the Fractured Fossil, it's actually in darkness. It's kind of annoying. So every 20 seconds I have to flare. But so you can see how low he is. And the reason that they're not stacked is because I didn't target bottom. So let me show you this. Target down here. My minions will target in here now. They all start to stack up. Then the enemies start to come in. I'll put the Void Sphere down here this time. Move it down a little bit more. And yeah, you could actually see the damage now. So they're giga super tanky, obviously, at this depth. The HP scaling is insane. But I'm surviving. I'm chilling. I'm having a good time. We're able to like analyze and think about the situation, like improve, get better. And look, it's not that long really if you think about it. This is actually pretty quick. And then I'm not even using a thingy to single it down like Signal Prey or whatever, Predator support. I'm just using like the mechanics of the minions and not changing anything. It's really sick. So technically now we could change to Behead Support because you'd get more damage instead of Empower, like I said, because it's at less than half life. This is one of those cases where my stuff wasn't dying, so I could definitely swap it out, and it's because there's no nodes, no mods on the nodes. And the thing to mention is after 6,000, apparently there's no more mods on the nodes, so this is actually more accurate of like what the delve is like, rather than doing those really dangerous nodes with a billion bad mods where they're doing like 4 times the damage. This is more realistic because this is what it's like past 6,000. And so you would actually just be chilling, and it would be consistently chilling, except for potentially Arch Nem RNG, but this is a unique node. You can see that it's a unique statue, so it can't get mods. It can't get Arch Nem mods. Whoops. But yeah, this actually went pretty fast. And then I still had Dynamite, so I could, like, Dynamite the Fracture Fossil as well. Boom. Easy. I just wanted to show you, though, mostly the surviving part while chilling. That was the main takeaway from that, of how... how nice our build is at doing delve, honestly. It's really sick. And then, like, I'm telling you, it's just because I was hitting nodes with really bad mods that were making me have to travel around. And then imagine just the entire thing is cut off and there's no ways to go down. Like, look at all of this being cut off. All of this was a dead end. You had to go through this, or you had to go all the way around to an area you can't even see around a time lost cavern. And then this way, we had to go all the way back. Look, all of this was a dead end all the way back up to here, and you have to go through a boss with consecrated ground and pen and what? And then even after, let's say you do it and you have to go through to an area you don't see again, it's like maybe I just have to loop back around again. I went all the way back up to 42259 from 4271. What the god damn. And it's just because of the mods on the areas, not even, you know what I'm saying? Well, either way, thanks for watching, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye!